A couple of years ago, I got invited on a weekend yacht trip with some friends. At first, honestly, I didn't want to go. I was like, fuck that shit. But I had just finished a long week of work. I was tired as hell, and the idea of spending 2 days on a boat with a bunch of loud, drunk people didn't really sound all that appealing to me. But my friends kept pushing me. Come on, man, it's a yacht, free drinks, live music, ocean views. What else are you doing this weekend? One of them said. And eventually, I gave in. I really wish my ass would have just said no. Now, the yacht itself was huge, not some small fishing boat or anything like that. This thing had multiple decks, a bar, lounge areas, and even a small stage where a live band was performing later that night. When I first got on board, the vibe was honestly great. People were laughing, music was playing, drinks were flowing, and everybody was just enjoying the night. The sun was starting to set across the water, and the whole scene just felt like something out of a movie. I spent the first hour catching up with some friends, a couple of them that I hadn't seen in months. And eventually the band started performing on the upper deck, and the place got even more lively. People started dancing, cheering, and the entire boat just had this fun party atmosphere. And at one point, I ended up talking to a girl who had come with one of my friend's co-workers. Her name was Claire. She had dark hair, a leather jacket, and this sarcastic sense of humor that made it really easy to talk to her. We grabbed a couple of drinks and started leaning against the railing near the side of the yacht, watching the water and talking while the music played behind us. It was one of those conversations where time just kind of flew by. We were joking, flirting around a little bit, and just enjoying the night. And then suddenly she stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes drifted past me towards the main walkway of the deck. And I remember thinking that she probably got distracted by somebody that she knew. But the expression on her face changed. Not scared exactly, but just confused. She leaned closer to me and quietly asked, "Hey, do you know that guy?" I turned around and looked. About 20 feet away from us was this guy, slowly walking along the deck. And when I say slowly, I mean awkwardly slow. He looked completely out of place, and everybody else in the yacht was either laughing, dancing, talking, or drinking. But this motherfucker was just wandering, like he didn't have no business being there. His shoulders were hunched slightly forward, his hands shoved into the pockets of a dark hoodie, and his eyes were just constantly scanning the deck like he was looking for something, or someone. And at first I assumed he must have been one of the guests. There were probably about 40 or 50 people on the yacht that night, so it wouldn't have been weird if I didn't recognize everybody. But the way he moved was strange. He wasn't talking to anyone. He wasn't drinking, he wasn't watching the band. He was just pacing slowly along the deck, occasionally glancing towards groups of people before quickly looking away. "I don't recognize him," she said. "Oh, maybe he came with someone," I replied. And then that's when the guy suddenly stopped walking. For a few seconds, he just stood there, staring down toward the lower level of the yacht, and looked directly at us. Claire beside me immediately looked away. "Okay, that's weird," she muttered. I laughed just a little, trying to brush it off. "Maybe he's just drunk," I said. There was no smile, no expression, just this blank, hollow look. And then after about 5 seconds, he turned around and walked towards the stairs leading down to the lower deck, disappearing out of sight. "Yeah, that guy is creepy," she said. I shrugged. "Maybe he's socially awkward?" I said jokingly. But even as I said that, I noticed something that made my stomach drop a little. Because when I looked back towards the crowd, I realized something strange. Everybody on the yacht seemed to be grouped together in small circles, talking, dancing, or watching the band. Except for that guy. He had been completely alone. And I suddenly found myself wondering I hadn't thought about before. Who exactly invited him? Because neither one of us had seen him before. And judging by the confused looks we started getting when we asked around later, nobody else had either. So after that weird moment, the girl and I tried to shake it off, nothing crazy. The music was still playing, the band was getting louder, and people were cheering around us. And for a little while, we went back to talking. She told me about how she knew one of my friend's co-workers. I told her about how I almost didn't even come tonight, and we laughed about how ridiculous some of the people on the dance floor looked. And then that's when my friend suddenly showed up. His name was Derek. "Hey man, there you are. We've been looking for you," suddenly patted me on the back. He introduced himself to Claire, and the three of us just started talking. Just casual stuff, drinks, the band, who invited who, the usual party conversations. But halfway through the conversation, that guy popped back into my head. So I asked, Hey, quick question. Do you know about that guy walking around here earlier? You know, dark hoodie, kind of awkward looking? My friend just stared at me. What guy? The guy that was just walking around here earlier. I mean, he was like creeping around the deck. My friend shook his head slowly. No, I haven't seen anybody like that. Claire leaned in forward and pointed towards the crowd. Right there. Both of us looked in the direction she was pointing. And sure enough, there he was. Standing near the far side of the deck. The same weird way of just standing there watching people. My friend squinted. Okay, yeah, that's kind of weird. So, do you know him? My friend shook his head. Nope. And for a moment, the three of us just stood there looking in his direction. The guy wasn't talking to anybody. He wasn't drinking. He wasn't even watching the band. He was just standing near the railing like he was observing the whole party from a distance. I'll go ask him, he said. Before one of us could either say anything, he started walking past the crowd. But the yacht was pretty packed by then. People were everywhere, moving around, laughing, drinks in their hand, and within a few seconds, we lost sight of him. We waited for a minute or two for him to come back, but he didn't. We went back to talking, joking around, and just watching the band play. But something about that whole situation still sat in the back of my head. Because that guy hadn't just been standing there, he had been watching everybody. Like he just didn't belong here. And the weirdest part, my friend never came back to tell us what happened when he talked to him. At that time, I didn't think too much of it. About half an hour passed, the band was still playing. People were still dancing, but suddenly something felt off. Because the more I thought about it, the more I realized something strange. My friend should have come back by now. He would have returned to us or at least walked past again, but he didn't. So I checked the area around the bar. Nothing. I even walked to the stairs that led to the lower deck. Still nothing. And then that's when Clara walked behind me. Did you find him? She said. I shook my head. No. She looked uneasy now. Maybe he went downstairs? She said. But as I looked toward the staircase leading down to the darker part of the yacht, I suddenly remembered something. That creepy guy had walked down those same stairs earlier, and for the first time that night, the thought crossed my mind. What if my friend did confront him, and something went wrong? Because at that exact moment, I noticed something else. The staircase leading down to the lower part of the deck was now completely dark. I sure as hell wasn't going down that motherfucker. We ended up staying on the upper deck for a while after that. The music kept playing, people kept drinking, and the whole thing just slowly blended back into a normal night again. Even the creepy guy, he didn't show up again. At least not where we could see him. And after a while, I kind of just let it go. I figured my friend probably ran into somebody that he knew, or maybe he just went off somewhere else on the yacht. It wasn't that unusual. Still, it was a little bit weird that he never came back. At some point later in the night, I looked over at Claire. Hey, you want to head downstairs for a bit? She smiled, a little tipsy now. Yeah, I could use a break from all this noise, she said. We made our way through the crowd, down the stairs, and into the lower level where the rooms were. It was quieter down there. Dim lighting, soft music faintly echoing from above, the hum of the engine in the background. We got to my room and went inside. At first we just sat and talked, just chilling. We talked about the night, about how random it was that we even met. She brought up that guy again. That dude earlier, he gave me a weird vibe, she said, sitting on the edge of the bed. Yeah, Derek just went to talk to him and just never came back, I said. She frowned slightly. Yeah, that's kind of creepy, she said. Probably nothing, even though I fully do want to believe that shit. We let the conversation drift after that. Started talking about other things. Music, work, random stories. The kind of late night conversations that just flows naturally when everything else slows down. And at some point there was this quiet moment. No music, no voices. Just the low hum of the yacht moving through the water. We looked at each other, smiled a little, and eventually we started making out. And one thing led to another. And we just kind of both fell asleep. The next thing I remember was a loud knock on my door. It jolted me awake instantly. At first I didn't even know where I was. Then I heard it again. I groaned, rolling my eyes as I sat up, just slightly annoyed. Claire was still beside me, sleeping. I checked my phone. Morning time. Shit. I don't even remember what time it was exactly, just that it felt too early. The knocking came again, more urgent this time. I got up and walked to the door, still half asleep, and opened it. Standing there was a woman I recognized from the night before. Her name was Connie. Mid-30s, messy hair, clearly stressed about something. Hey, sorry, she said quickly. Have you seen Derek? Wait, what? I said, half asleep. Derek, tall guy, black shirt, he was with you guys last night? She said. I was blinking, trying to process the situation. No, haven't seen him since last night, I said. Her expression changed instantly. What do you mean? I leaned against the doorframe. Well, I mean, he went to go talk to some guy on the deck, some dude in the hoodie. We lost sight of him after that, and I figured maybe he just wandered off. I don't know, I said. She just stared at me, and then her face started to shift from confusion to panic. You're telling me you haven't seen him since then? She said. No, I thought he came back, I said. Well, he didn't, she said, shaking her head. I've been looking for him all morning. Now I was fully awake. That's weird, I said. Her breathing started getting heavier. Yeah, he wouldn't just disappear like that, she said. Okay, hold on. Let's not jump to anything, okay? He's probably somewhere on the boat, I said. She shook her head again. I've checked a few places already, she said. And then that's when something in my chest tightened. Because suddenly it didn't feel like nothing anymore. All right, let's go look for him right now, I said. Behind me, I heard movement. Clara sat up in bed, squinting towards the door. What's going on? She said. I turned slightly. My friend's missing. That woke her up real damn quick. Connie at the door spoke again, voice shaky now. Yeah, I can't find him anywhere. Clara got up, grabbing her jacket, and said, Okay, let's go look. And then that's when the search began.